Hi guys, Mike with Fights with Friends and Mike Reviews It All, and this is the Fights with Friends post-fight show. A lot to talk about today. We covered Bellator on the stream. We covered the end of the Terrence Crawford, Jose Benavidez fight. And now we're going to cover PFL. I couldn't commentate everything at once, and trust me, be thankful that I didn't try. Be thankful that I didn't try. The results, those moving on in the $1 million tournament, though, for PFL 9. Here are the results. Winners: Vinny Magalhaes, Sean O'Connell, and then number 1 seeded Schultz and Magomedov. Islam Magomedov, move on. What happened? Vinny Magalhaes won. Sean O'Connell, they will face each other at light heavyweight for the $1 million, and Schultz and Magomedov. Vinny Magalhaes actually had 2 first-round stoppages. Again, that's all 4 of his fights he's ended by first-round stoppage. And he won both of his fights with Kimura. By Kimura. One of the rarest submissions in professional MMA. And Vinny pulls it off twice in one night. Absolutely insane. Punched his ticket to the $1 million light heavyweight championship fight. Got a first round stoppage of Bozigat Ativ, who was 19-3. Light heavyweight semifinal served as the main event of Saturday's PFL 9 event in Long Beach, California. Magalhaes, he's gotten so much better since he was in the UFC. It's incredible. In a rematch of the regular season contest, number 1 seed Nathan Schultz, 14-3-1. Again, same fight, same decision. Nathan Schultz again wins a decision, gets a decision victory over number 4 seed Chris Wade. This time it earned him a spot in PFL's lightweight championship finals, and we've been waiting for it. We've been watching the regular season, but now we're here.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. What's that?
Gotta love the old Jim Mora playoffs, and we are in playoffs.
Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
We are in the playoffs finally here at PFL. We've been waiting for this one for a while, and of course, NBC, Facebook, they put up the money. They came big on this one. They got a lot of big names, and the winner of it is going to win
$1 million.
And that drew a lot of names, a lot of big names still to come. Of course, Rick Story, Jake Shields, for some UFC alumni that'll be fighting next week. Next week is the last week of the playoffs, and then the finals. All the $1 million contracts will be handed out on New Year's Eve. So if you want to see who wins that, we'll have to spend New Year's Eve together. I don't know how happy my wife would be about that, but
no.
She's saying no. We might have to have a vote. How many people? We'll put it to a vote. I'm a little surprised to see Sean O'Connell in there, though. 20-10. He was the first guy to punch his ticket in the light heavyweight final. He got in a lot of trouble against Melina Rama. Was hurt in the first round. Came back, battled back for a first-round knockout of his own. So he was hurt in the first round, came back for a first-round knockout. It says two men came out swinging, O'Connell landing first, sending his opponent to the floor. However, Rama grabbed his opponent's leg as he moved forward, forcing O'Connell to back away and reset. From there, Rama started swing combinations, stunning O'Connell on the feet. Nevertheless, O'Connell shook off the damage, answered back with a big left hand of his own, sending Rama to the floor. From there, O'Connell stood over his opponent and landing big ground and pound blows that put Rama out cold at the 145 mark of the first frame. What's up, Arcade Chaos? We're back. We got some playoff results set.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
We got some winners going on to New Year's Eve. Light heavyweights. Vinny Maggio has finished all 4 of his fights now in the first round. And he finished both of his fights tonight by Kimura. I can't even remember the last time I seen an MMA fight finished by Kimura. You see people going for it a lot. Vinny finished 2 guys tonight. 2 guys by Kimura in the same night. That's hard to get over. He did great on the striking. He's gotten so much better since he was in the UFC. Like I was saying, though, and Nathan Schultz beats Chris Wade again in their rematch. They had fought earlier in the time, and that's what happened the second time. Same fight, same result. Despite losing a decision earlier in the night, Thiago Tavares was allowed to return to the bracket for a semi-final fight with Rashid Magomedov. When the man that beat him, Islam Mammadov, was unable to continue. So this was, I don't know if you guys knew this, you had to fight twice tonight. It was as much of a one-night tournament as allowed under new MMA sanctioning rules. So what happens is the first fight is 2 rounds and then the second fight is 3 rounds. So you still can't fight more than 5 rounds in one night. But it's 2 opponent. Was just checking on some street beefs. Vinny landed a nice flying arm on Chris Weidman. Yeah, he's a beast. He just didn't have his striking at the level it needed to be at when he was in the UFC. And I think it's there now. Minnie Mouse Street Beefs is a wankster. I mean Mighty. Oh, Mighty Mouse. I got you. Mighty Mouse Street Beefs, huh? I think everybody got hungry. JT started off that conversation about the chicken nuggets. Everybody started talking about food. I'm just waiting for my check from Grubhub. I mean, I had to send them a lot of business tonight. I'm all in for Josh Copeland. Disappointed with the losses of Will Brooks and Andre Harrison. Yeah, I really expected Andre Harrison to win that bracket. He did get to the finals. Josh Copeland, the Cuddly Bear, the number 8 seed. That's a great story. And I got to go for him. I knew what you meant. Flying armbar. I got you. Yeah, I didn't expect Will Brooks to lose either. But Magomedov was clearly the bigger man. They said he took the center to start and looked to utilize his length advantage. Tavares moved well on the outside, trying to dart in and out of range before eventually diving for a leg. Magomedov landed a few solid punches and ended up going on to a clear victory. Magomedov worked his way free from a hold in the 3rd round, began pounding away at Tavares' midsection. Tavares was clearly in pain and simply covered up. Contest was waved off at 3:36 of the 3rd round. So official decision was Islam Magomedov. excuse me, a third round finish. And that punches his ticket into the final round for
$1 million.
all on New Year's Eve. Yeah, that was an incredible flying armbar by Vinny too. Absolutely. Let's go back through Bellator results and check out what we have coming up too. Because we have a lot coming up. Of course, Fedor versus Ryan Bader. Let's visit that. I'm going to go to their site and bring that up. They really are trying to compete with the UFC. They're starting, a lot of their guys are older, but I think they have a two-tier strategy. They're gonna draw you in with fighters you know, even though a lot of them are near the end of their careers. And now they're working on developing a lot of young and upcoming talent, which they're paying guys. They're paying guys right now that aren't fighting yet. And they'll be coming back November 15th. Patricio Pitbull versus Emmanuel Sanchez. But let's look at the results of tonight. And here we go. Of course, we had Fedor Emelianenko knocked out Chael Sonnen in the first round. Really made Chael look like a child. And that's just what came to mind when I said it. I wasn't trying to demean Chael. You guys know I'm a big fan of both guys. But he really... That's just what it looked like in there to me. It looked like a grown-ass man fighting a child. And that's what happens when we get some of these guys fighting out of their weight classes. I think that definitely does have something to do with it. Hey, Mike, do you have any videos of when you competed in martial arts? I have some judo videos somewhere. No, my sensei had some on VHS. I talked to him not that long ago, and he said he had a video of some of mine. I've been trying to get a hold of him, but communication's been a little sporadic. Yeah, there was a temporary falling out there I don't want to go into, but Benson Henderson gets an impressive victory over Sadawar. I mean, he doesn't finish him, but he wins all 3 rounds. Where does Benson go from here? He looked very impressive. When Fedor was a child, his coaches said he wasn't that athletic or anything special, but had good work ethic. How many guys are we seeing now in sports, especially in MMA, with great work ethic, beating guys that seem to have more physical talent and more natural physical attributes? I think that work ethic, there's another part to it now, because if you have the work ethic in and out of the gym or on and off the field, regardless of your sport, intellectually, there's so many more tools than there was, like, say, back in the 50s and 60s, when guys could get by maybe on mostly, physical attributes. Guys are sitting there watching tape, and I mean, they're taking things down to the millimeter. Okay, that's how Daniel Cormier figured out that tendency of Stipe Miocic. He would not have known he could land that elbow. He may not have won that fight if he hadn't been watching tape on how Stipe dropped his arm coming out of the clinch and threw that elbow. So that was purely intellectual. Obviously, he had to land the big shot. I mean, and he had to be able to do it. But so many more tools out there now. You can go online. You can get the opinion of, 100 different experts. And if you've been around the game long enough, if you're listening to people, I mean, you can tell within, a few seconds or at least a few minutes if somebody knows what they're talking about or if they're full of it, and you can move on to the next video. What weight is Benson fighting at? He's at lightweight. He's at 155. Michael Chandler has both. And honestly, another guy that has had both, even though he's been such an F-up, is John Jones. John Jones has the physical attributes. I know there's these stories about him partying, these other things, but everybody says he's a fanatic in the gym, in the weight room, and in practice, and sparring, everywhere, and just a physical freak. It's too bad he can't walk down a little more straight and narrow path, but it is what it is. I liked Fedor versus Chael. I thought it was solid given they are both past their primes. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of guys. If they fight, they're both in their 40s, fair fight. You see different results in lighter weight fighters, especially depending on style. The best example I can think of would be in boxing. You had Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. early in his career never established a jab, broke all the rules in boxing, and he was just such a physical freak. His speed and his reflexes, and I mean, he was definitely trained, but he wasn't trained in the orthodox boxing. He trained himself in a style that highlighted his speed and reflexes. The first time he fought Bernard Hopkins, he dominated Bernard Hopkins, won the decision with a broken hand. They fought later on in their careers. Bernard Hopkins was actually several years older, but because of Bernard Hopkins' defensive style, where he would keep his hands up and shell up, Bernard Hopkins easily won the rematch. So some guys, excel young, some guys excel older, but if you have the mental game, I think it might, add to that longevity as well. Alexander Shlemenko came back tonight, fought a ton of times in Bellator, former 185-pound champion against Anatoly Tokov, absolutely dominating performance from Anatoly. Continue to take Alexander down at will, beat him up standing and on the ground. Anatoly could definitely have a future at 185. He could challenge for the title. If Benson fought, Alvarez would take it. I agree. Benson versus Michael Chandler could be good. They should do that. I mean, it'd be good anyways for the sport and everything else. Every wrestler has that mentality. Oh, that worker's mentality. Yeah, you have to work in wrestling. It's like you're going to throw up. There's buckets on the side. Get to the side. Get it over with. Go rinse it off and get back out there. I mean, and I did wrestling and judo, and it was the same kind of thing in judo, and you have those hot gis on. It's like guys talk about, no gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like one of them is not relevant. And I'll tell you, those gis, man, you want to lose some weight, go put a freaking double weave gi on and go out there and just, train for 3-4 hours. Train hard with guys, standing and on their feet and run, and you're going to lose some weight. Chael choke, says Quincy. Bisping has wrestler's mentality, but is not at all a wrestler. Say what you want about Bisping, but the man has insane heart and work ethic. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of him early on in his career, and he gained my respect by the end, towards the very end, and I like him as a commentator. Bisping is a cardio freak, absolutely. If Benson beat Chandler, then that's good for Bellator, and if Chandler beats Benson, then that's good for them too. Yeah, I think that's a good fight for them all around. I don't know that Benson, I think he's under 500 since he's came into Bellator. I don't know that earns him a title shot. There's not a lot of competition in Bellator. I mean, lightweight is one of the more competitive divisions, but I mean, you could argue for it, or you give him one more fight and then take it from there. Czech Congo against Timothy Johnson. Czech Congo actually came in an underdog on the cards, but he was laughing during the week. Pretty much refused to talk about Timothy Johnson, blew him off, said Timothy Johnson is shit. That's what he said. He said Timothy Johnson is shit. And he came in there and shut everybody up, knocked him out in the first round, was absolutely dominative. Too bad he's 43 years old. I would have liked to have seen him in this tournament. What's left for the Grand Prix? The heavyweights, it's just the finals, man. It's Chael Sonnen versus Ryan Bader. And we'll look at that here in a minute. Henry Corrales versus Andy Main. That one was early. Henry Corrales won by second round knockout. Overall, good event. I thought it was a good event for Bellator. I thought they did a good job of everything. I like their promotion. I like the way they hyped the fights at the beginning. Oh, sorry, that wasn't... That wasn't the way that was supposed to go. Dutch guy be eating me up now about my... my lack of technical prowess. But I don't know. He left on us, so.
I'll be upstairs.
Okay.
Making a private phone call.
Okay. So, Terrence Crawford, of course, amazing win. Where does he go from here? He got the win over Jose Benavidez. Kind of random, but what do you think of Ilir Latifi? I think he's a beast. I think he's got power that could knock anybody out if he catches him right. Ilir is super underrated, says Borg. I agree. When Chael covered up and didn't attempt to move position while absorbing shots, it seemed as if Chael decided, I put on a good enough show and I'm ready for my check. I kind of have the same feeling. I mean, I didn't want to feel that way, but it's like, yeah, and he kept on falling to the ground at the beginning of the fight. So, I mean, that was ridiculous. I don't think he should be fighting anymore. I like his podcast. I like his, out of the box thinking on some things. He brings up some good points. I disagree with him quite a bit of the time on a lot of things too. And I think part of that's just because sometimes he just automatically takes the opposite side to be the antagonist. But he does do a good breakdown as far as his podcast. But yeah, for fighting, I'd be okay with him being done. I'm okay continuing to watch a guy like Rampage if he's still got the power, like that Rampage versus Vanderlei fight, even if they're not at their prime. But Chael was never an exciting fighter. He always wrote his check with his mouth. I mean, he won. He would win. You know, he would beat a lot of guys until a lot of you guys mentioned, until he got up to the upper echelon. And then he would fold sometimes. Chael didn't know that they would give Fedor the win for those strikes. He was pretending they hurt to put on a show. He didn't know they would give Fedor the win? Not sure what you're saying. You're thinking that he didn't think they were going to stop the fight. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I hope not. I don't like it when things get squirrely like that and people are doing things in an actual fight to change the perception of what's going on. I find that that's a really slippery slope. I need my MVP versus Semtex daily already. It's taking so long. I hear you, man. So let's go through boxing real quick. Terrence Crawford, and then we're going to go back to Bellator and see what's going on next. Terrence Crawford wanted to show Jose Benavidez he didn't belong in the same ring as him. Benavidez sounds like he was winning early in the fight. Obviously, we didn't watch the whole fight, but Crawford sounds like went to the body early. And on the scorecards, they actually had it a blowout. It looks like ESPN's analyst Andre Ward had it a lot closer than what they had it. They had 109 to 100 for Crawford going into the 11th round. And then he warred with Benavidez. He took some big shots. I thought he was shook for a minute. Then he ends up flooring Benavidez, taking him out. And I don't know what's next for Crawford, but I mean, how far off in weight is him and Lomachenko? Is Lomachenko lighter? I want to say they're close to the same weight. I'm going to look this up. Welterweight championship. I think Lomachenko's might be bantamweight. I think he's lighter. Welterweight's 147 in boxing. Yeah, Lomachenko fights at 132. So, unless they fought at a catch weight and Crawford was willing to come down a little bit, that fight's probably not going to happen. Vasily Lomachenko, he's got a fight coming up. He's already, see, they're calling him the pound-for-pound king. This is an ESPN senior writer. At the end of tonight, they called Crawford the pound-for-pound king. So I guess it depends on who's fighting. So Lama's fighting at 135. He's fighting Jose Pedraza next. That's going to be on ESPN on December 8th. And I think we're going to see a lot more big fights on ESPN now that the HBO deal is done. Definitely a good learning experience for Benavidez. I mean, he learned a ton in there. Oh, I'm just saying, for being as smart as he boasts and a legit veteran, he would have understood he has to move and not absorb. They'll stop it when it happens. It's called the Ken Shamrock effect. Absolutely. Crazy that Chael has wins against Shogun, Rampage, and Vanderlei now. That's that wrestling. Lama is way smaller. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He is 12 pounds smaller. So unless they're going to meet at 140, which I don't see Terrence Crawford coming down to 140. Probably not going to happen, I guess. Crawford versus Spence, says Quincy. Or Thurman Porter. Crawford versus Canelo. They're close enough to fight, aren't they? That would sell a lot of tickets. I would take Crawford in that fight. And I don't know. I don't know. I guess I would have to break it down some. I mean, maybe that's a spur-of-the-moment decision based on tonight's performance. Crawford just seems... he seems a lot faster than Canelo, but Canelo does a lot of things good. They call whoever is more relevant the best. Yeah, kind of like the UFC. This is the biggest UFC ever. This is the best fighter that's ever fought on the UFC. This is the all-time pound-for-pound king. Oh, God, we heard it about Rousey. We heard it about John Jones. We hear it about Conor. UFC 100 will be the biggest UFC ever. UFC 200. Conor versus Nate. Conor versus Khabib. Insert, whatever. Ronda versus Cyborg, which never happened. But... yeah, so Crawford might be a bit small to face Canelo. I was thinking that was a bit heavy for him. So he was at 140. So he could go 140 and fight Lama. Lama's at 135. That's only 5 pounds. I'd like to see it. Actually, Triple G versus Crawford might be pretty sweet. That could be a great fight too. Spence is good, but Crawford is the better, cleaner fighter. Whatever happened to Danny Jacobs? He fought... God, he just fought not that long ago. I believe he lost... to somebody big. I was just thinking of that. The other day. No, he's got a fight coming up with Sergey Derevyanchenko. No, he's on the last night of HBO Boxing. That's where I heard that name from. Daniel Jacobs. He's fighting on the ceremonial final night of HBO Boxing, October 27th, Madison Square Garden. So, and he's on a pretty good winning streak. He's already fought Triple G. He lost the unanimous decision to him in March of last year. But he's only got 2 losses on his career. And 29 knockouts and 34 wins. Oh, Quincy had already beaten me to it. Sorry, Jacobs is fighting Derevyanchenko on HBO. HBO's last card, yes. Danny had cancer and was KO'd and then made a comeback. That was cool. Chell thought a KO ended the round, guys. That's pretty good. That's probably what he's going to say. And yeah, he probably already does have a YouTube video out. It's like, he should just stick it with the entertainment business. He looked to be in good enough shape. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's not training. He's doing so many things, though. I wonder if he's really able to put the effort into training that he should be, or if he is, especially at an older age. I mean, he's got the podcast. He's got the Bellator commentating gig, and he's constantly putting up YouTube videos, which I know he doesn't do a lot of editing, kind of like me. You guys know I hate editing, but I probably should do a little bit more of it, but Yeah, he's doing a ton of things. So, but I guess his full-time job should be as a fighter. If he's going to fight, be a fighter. Be training. So, I don't know. I honestly want to know if Mayweather can still go toe-to-toe with some of these younger guys. What do you guys think, before we go back to Bellator real quick, what do you guys think of Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather? I almost couldn't even say it. The rematch. I'm not real interested. To be honest, sucks. Andre Ward retired. Yeah, he's in the commentating booth for ESPN now. And I said, I wonder where a lot of the commentators from HBO go. The guys I really like to see is George Foreman, and he's getting pretty damn old. But Roy Jones Jr. is an excellent commentator, and I think the least biased, for sure, out of that group. Max Kellerman has got a lot of talent. He's very polished. I could see him fitting in at ESPN. I think that's where he started. Isn't it crazy that Marcos Mendana got so fat like only a month after retiring? So a lot of these guys that just blow up after they retire. You got, that's what happened to Raging Bull. And afterwards, a lot of these guys, I think their bodies are used to burning so many calories, per day, and your body's going to adjust to that. And it says, okay, I need to hold on to calories, because you're going to go out there and you're going to burn them. And if I don't hold on to some calories, we're going to die. So your body holds on to these calories. And obviously, I'm not any health expert, but I just listen to, podcasts of different things, try to use a little bit of common sense. But your body tries to hold on to that energy that it knows it's going to need. And then later on, when you're not burning all those calories, still holding on to calories to try to survive. And then that's when you put on the big gut, like Jake LaMotta. Hopefully most of you guys have watched Raging Bull. One of the greatest movies ever in my mind. Greatest boxing movie. As far as cinematography, I may be a bigger fan of the Rocky videos, but talking about, just based on the quality of a movie, Raging Bull's top. And Robert De Niro, because of the way that they filmed things back then, had to get in ridiculous shape to play Jake LaMotta in his prime. Then they filmed Jake LaMotta as he was older after he gained a bunch of weight. So De Niro had to get in shape. Then he had to go and gain 60 pounds. And then to finish filming, he had to lose all that weight back and get back in shape. It almost killed him, he said. That's an amazing discipline. Say what you will about Robert De Niro, some of those guys. Amazing discipline. I can't imagine that I could do that. Roy Jones just posted a photo on Instagram of an alligator he caught. Damn. That guy's a beast. Chael had the Apollo Creed outfit and got murked by the Russian. All we needed was James Brown singing Living in America. That is great, Mario. Yeah, that was like that was like a setup. Prince Nassim went to heavyweight size when he retired. Damn. Who was Rocky in this story? Then Ryan Bader? Avenged Chael's death, Rocky Bader. Damn. So, yeah, let's go to that one. What's up, Stewie? Let's go ahead and bring up some Bellator then, going on into this next round. We just watched Fedor beat Chael Sonnen, of course, but what is Ryan Bader's key to victory? Ryan Bader's key to victory, I think Bader matches up very well against Fedor. He's a good striker. He's a good wrestler. But does he run into a strength and size disadvantage like Chael did? Chael put on the weight, but it wasn't the quality weight and muscle like Fedor was. I mean, Fedor threw him around like a rag doll. I do think Bader is stronger, but Bader is a natural light heavyweight. And he's been coming into these matches very light. That gives him the speed advantage. If he gets caught by Fedor, though, Fedor could put him out. Is it going to hurt him in his strength to take Fedor down? Now, of course, he's a lot younger than Chael. He's more explosive. Youth is on his side. If I was him, I would do everything I could to get through that first round, hope that Fedor starts to get tired, and then put the pressure on. Oh, Bader is like 35, I think. How old is Ryan Bader?
Ryan Bader is 35.
Yeah, Ryan Bader's 35. So, boy, were we so wrong with Bellator tonight, eh, Mike? What's up, Lone Wolf? I switched my pick after sleeping overnight and picked Fedor. You didn't tune into. Everybody can attest to me, though. I actually did say Fedor at the beginning of the night. By second round knockout, he ended up getting the first round. Who you got for Cerrone versus Perry? Unfortunately, I think Perry's got too much firepower for Cerrone right now. I would like to. I really don't like that Cerrone's taken that fight. I think he's lost the step, and I think Perry could really hurt him. I think Perry will overwhelm him. With the main event, I think Bader could gas Fedor if he doesn't get caught. Bader is bigger than Chael, though. He is bigger than Chael, and I think that has got to be his strategy, is to gas him. Get through that first round. Halfway through the second round, I mean, Fedor, yeah, he's always had a great gas tank, but he's 42 years old. He's human. He's 42 or 43. I can't remember what they said, one of those. But, yeah, he's getting up there. And, you know, he's 7-8 years older than Bader. Bader has great cardio with the wrestling and stuff. So if it goes past the first round, I would favor Ryan Bader. I would not want to bet on this fight, though, because each of these guys has skill sets that I think could give the other one a lot of potential problems. The way Ryan dominated Matron, I think he takes it. Mike Perry, easy money. Cowboy keeps chin too high. Mike is lying. He didn't change his pick. Just kidding. Fedor has big power. The Chael dropped like nothing. Well, I never erase my stream, so if you ever doubt me, the proof's always online. Fedor has big power. The Chael dropped like nothing. Bader in better shape, cardio, and conditioning. Fedor by KO most likely. Chael was in better shape. Fedor is too good on the ground. Yeah, he's. I was very impressed with, with Fedor's ability to just push Chael to the side, push his takedown attempts to the side like they were nothing. And I mean, Chael easily took down Anderson Silva, held him for, a lot of rounds. Which Silva was the bigger guy then against Sonnen. Like you guys had said earlier, Sonnen's fought as low as 170. So, and he's given a lot of guys fits. In this tournament, he was able to take Rampage Jackson down at will. He did the same thing to Vanderlei Silva. Not to Fedor though. Like I said, I was just impressed the way he was able to shuck him to the side. And Chael never really seemed to mentally be in the fight. He seems scared, to be honest. And I've never seen Chael look scared like that. And this is a guy that dominated almost an entire 5 rounds against Anderson Silva, one of the most intimidating strikers ever in the game. He's been in there with John Jones. He's been in there against some dangerous guys. He looked scared tonight. Is Fedor human, though? I was talking about both of us thinking Fedor would KO Chael in the later rounds. Gotcha. Chael looked like a speed bag. Yeah, he did. Fedor is like Gaethje in that he puts 100% into all the movements. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. And we were talking about, I was trying to remember when MVP versus no, I'm drawing a blank. I apologize. MVP versus who's he fighting next? Haser has the ability to grind out decor. Paul Daly. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Fedor tosses Chael around like a rag doll. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was crazy. But that's a great fight, Paul Daly and MVP. I'm looking forward to that one. I give Paul Daly more than a puncher's chance in that one. I know a lot of people think MVP is going to dominate. I'm not so sure. So this is the November 15th card. So next time Bellator will be around, what's that, another month? Patricio Pitbull faces Emmanuel Sanchez for the featherweight world title. Welterweight co-main event, Haim Ghazali versus Ryan Couture. That's part of the Grand Prix. Then Phil Davis is coming back in the light heavyweight feature bout, taking on Vadim Nikov. Davis should come back with a solid win there. And I don't know who these girls are. But and that's still part of the depth with Bellator, is there's too many, I don't know who this person is. And even on main cards, for people that follow MMA religiously. I was at Chael's first fight at heavyweight. Second, because it was the second round of the Grand Prix. He beat Rampage in the last round. On lineup, I say Bader has the edge with youth, strong wrestling, etc. Though Fedor can't be counted out with those sledgehammers he swings. He has proven that over the years. Well, didn't you say right off the muscle that Fade or hit him with a right hand and sent him to the mat? That's probably why he wasn't in the fight mentally. Yeah, he did get caught right off the bat, so he could have been in a fog for most of the fight. But yeah, I think it was right after he tasted the power of Fedor. It was like you could see he's like he kind of looked like he wanted out of there. So 2 weeks from that, on a Friday, November 30th, Bellator comes back. They're bringing out, I love Melvin Manhoff. I mean, I loved him back in the day, but God, this guy has been around forever. He's been in so many wars, 30-14. I'm a little surprised to see him as the main event, but he's always entertaining, especially in the first couple of rounds. Had a great start to the fight in his fight against Robbie Lawler. He's one of those guys that could just never make the transition to the next level for the UFC, though. And is that all they've got for that card so far? I don't know what that's all about. I thought they had more than that. I don't know if they're messing with their website or what. Just trying to see when Daly and MVP are fighting. I thought they had announced that Alessio Sakara versus Kent. See, it says main card. I don't know that that's going to end up being the main event. I don't think Alessio Sakara is a headliner yet. I think some of these cards are not finished. Primus versus Chandler 2, Brent Primus. I'm very interested in this one, though. Okay, and this, it looks like they got their card ready. Brent Primus, of course, Michael Chandler was injured when they fought before. Primus has been ducking him, not wanting to defend the belt, making excuses. I think Chandler comes in and annihilates him. People saying fixed fight over on Twitter, all over the place. I don't see that at all. Yeah, I don't know. I heard some things after the Mir fight, too. So, I mean, it's definitely a great advantage for Bellator to have Fedor win. The stock in your company goes up every time Fedor Emelianenko wins. I don't think the fight was fixed. If they were gonna fix it, I hope they would not have done that horrible of a job. For the fight, Chael said he's never felt power like what Fedor has. Who would have won between Silva and Fedor? Oh, Anderson Silva and Fedor back in the day? I think Fedor was just too big. We've seen, especially recently, we've wanted all these super fights, and we've seen that guys can go up in weight, and a great guy can fight a good guy, but then when you put a good guy against a good guy, usually the guy that's at his native weight wins. And when you put a great fighter, a championship fighter, against another championship fighter, like we've seen Rory McDonald and Gegard Mousasi, that weight advantage really seems to come into play. Although Anderson Silva, it's hard to count that guy out. He fought at 185. So I'd have to go with Fedor. Kane versus Fedor, who would have won? That would have been an interesting matchup. Trying to think of the time Fedor's fought wrestlers like that. Who did he fight on the level of Cain Velasquez's wrestling? I mean, he beat both the Nogueira brothers. I would have to give that some thought. I'm actually gonna peek through Fedor's record real quick. He's only lost 5 fights ever. He got knocked out by Matt Mitrione, of course, in last year. 3 of those fights were right in a row. Fabricio Verdum, and Antonio Bigfoot Silva, and then Dan Henderson, all by knockout, all right in a row in Strikeforce. And then he disappeared for a while. He fought once in 2012 and then did not fight again until 2015. seemed to come back with a resurgence. And he's won 7 of his last 8 fights since his comeback, including first-round finishes in almost most of his fights. He went to decision with Jeff Monson and Fabio Maldonado. Everything else was a first-round knockout. Knocked out Pedro Hizzo, knocked out Frank Mir, now Chael Sonnen. Manhoff is another one of those names that belonged on the UFC roster that never got the chance. Yeah, he was such an exciting fighter. That's one of those guys, it's like he would burn himself out because he put on such a pace. But man, he's fun to watch. Not fixed, just Sonnen decided he had enough. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Just saw a replay of Chael fight. Seems the ref could have let it go a little longer. Chael was fine. Chael got shook up. That power was new for him. Especially since there was just a few seconds left in the round. I think he probably could have. And I think the referees now should have a pretty good idea where they are in the round. How would Damian Maia versus Robbie Lawler go? I think Lawler's able to take Maia out, especially at this point. I think Maia's lost quite a few steps. Chael was just laying there covering up. Good stoppage. Chael and the word goats have never been associated with each other and never will be. Yeah, I guess Chael was a bit out of his league, just a bit. He was the goat of trash talking. Hashtag facts. He was the goat of trash talking for sure. Fedor losing to Mitrione makes me sad. It's like when Tyson lost to some fighters at the end of his career he would have destroyed. That's why I was kind of rooting a little bit for Mitrione to beat Ryan Bader, just to see that rematch, to see if Fedor was able to avenge his loss. He looks way better than Mitrione recently. Mitrione has not looked good in this tournament. Barely squeaked out a majority decision over Roy Nelson in a fight where Roy Nelson had figured Mitrione out and was coming back. And then did not look good against Ryan Bader at all. Kevin Randleman beat him pretty good. Oh, wait, never mind. That was Crow Cup. Randleman was a beast back in the day, though. My God. I would lean towards Kane off his size, wrestling, and striking in his fast pace. Oh, I was supposed to be looking at Fedor's record for wrestlers. What happened to... Well, we seen him. We went through Mir, a few of those guys. That's one of those things like the JDS one. I mean, you know, I think Fedor definitely could catch him early. As the fight went on, Kane would have a bigger advantage the later the fight got. I agree with you, Lone Wolf, except for Fedor could catch him early. JT, I'm pretty sure a lot of people had that feeling after seeing McGregor lose last weekend. Yeah, the Meathead is my favorite nickname. I think my favorite new nickname might be the Cuddly Bear. I mean, especially this big, huge heavyweight. I mean, can you imagine the game that guy's got to get to? And what woman doesn't want to be with a big... strong, sweet dude that goes by the Cuddly Bear. People forget that Fedor versus Matt almost ended in a double knockout. Yeah, I just remembered that when you said that. And you know, Dan Henderson, him against Dan Henderson is very similar. He had Henderson hurt. Remember, they had both hit each other and they were both hurt. Henderson came up behind Fedor and hit him from behind underneath with that uppercut at that weird angle. kind of just rolled, kind of just almost rolled into an accidental position and caught Fedor with that uppercut. That's still one of the craziest knockouts that I've seen. Frank Mir comes back against Javi Ayala. Be nice to see Frank Mir get one or two more wins before he's done. I was never a huge fan. He's definitely important to the sport, though. I'm glad to see when any guy starts transitioning into commentating or anything that allows them to make a living without getting punched in the head. And I guess that's it for right now. All they have is Brent Primus and Chandler. Oh, here we go. This is when I was looking at Lyoto Machida. This is December 15th. So this is about 2 months off. They got a lot of cards in the next 2 months. They take a couple weeks off. But Lyoto Machida takes on Rafael Carvalho in the co-main. That should be great. Middleweight World Grand Prix first round bout. Neiman Gracie versus Ed Ruth. King Mo Lawal comes back against Liam McGreary. He's getting towards the end of his career, but I think he's probably still got a few left in him. Valerie Letourneau returns against Alimale McFarlane. And I thought there were some more bouts on this, but apparently that's all they have up on the site right now. Bader should give Fedor a better match, but then again, Bader doesn't have that great of a chin. Yeah, if Fedor can hit him, if he can hit him just right, that could really be an issue for Bader. I wasn't a huge Mir fan, but I was glad when he beat Lesnar. I think most people were. Sup, Jose Haro? How you doing, man? I want to see the legend Fedor. Did you see the fight, man? It was great. Rafael Carvalho versus Melvin Manhoff was the original Nagano versus Lewis. Ouch. One of the worst fights I've ever seen. Yeah, I think they got Manhoff way past his prime. That's just one of those guys, I think you could see that guys start to fade at such different ages. There's guys that are done when they're 30. I mean, they are legitimately done. 30, 32, right in that age, especially the lighter weight fighters. I mean, they are just done. Like BJ Penn was done for a long time. Eric Morales in boxing, I mean, he was done in his early 30s. He'd been in those wars with Marco Antonio Barrera, Manny Pacquiao, how many different guys. But then Pacquiao is able to keep going, and Mayweather's able to keep going. So maybe some evolution in nutrition and training is helping some of these guys hang out a little further. Hey, look at that. We got back-to-back Bellators again. I just noticed that. December 14th and December 15th. So, both in Hawaii. Huh. So I wonder if they sell both those tickets together. Probably not. King Mo was my original heavyweight Grand Prix pick. We all saw how that went. Frank's a very intelligent fighter. You just don't always execute it. He was definitely in that Fedor fight. I mean, that fight was only 48 seconds. Both those guys had their moments, though. It was just so fast. Manhoff versus Lawler. I highly recommend that fight for anyone who hasn't seen it. I definitely recommend that too, Mario. That's a great one. Hendo sure lasted, though. How old was Hendo? He's like 45 when he finally retired. Same thing with Randy Couture, was 46. Who won on Fedor? Fedor knocked out Chael Sonnen in the first round. Benson Henderson won by unanimous decision. Czech Congo won by a first round knockout. And those are the fights that mattered. The other one, I didn't know who that person was, or those two fighters. But yeah, overall, a pretty good card. Fedor made Chael his hit shitting around. Power's so interesting, like how Dan Henderson had insane power, the good frame and skinny arms, but some big, more athletic fighters didn't hit as hard as him. Leverage. You've seen that. You go back to a guy like Tommy Hearns. I don't know if you guys know that Thomas the Hitman Hearns, old middleweight boxer. Big, tall, skinny, lengthy guy. But he had leverage on those punches, and he knew how to use it just right. Dan Henderson, he had leverage and he had power, and power's the last thing to go. Speed and reflex is the first thing to go. Power's the last thing to go. That's why George Foreman was able to knock Michael Moorer out to become the oldest heavyweight champion ever at 45 years old, after losing every minute of every round until the 12th round, and then break Michael Moorer's jaw. Didn't Hendo have some type of condition that allowed him to take TRT? He did. He was under... That was a weird, short-lived exemption where they were allowing these guys to take TRT, and they really didn't explain it a whole lot. They just said that you're allowed to have up to 4 times your natural TRT in your body. And then they really didn't say a whole lot about it when it disappeared. Not that I remember. But, I mean, TRT Vitor and then Vitor afterwards. And those were 2 different human beings. That was not even the same person. Wilder is an example of leverage, a tall, skinny guy. He's got leverage, and he's got hammer strength. I cannot believe what he does to some of these guys. I mean, he lifts guys off the ground that are much bigger. The way he hit Luis Ortiz, and how he can get away with stylistically being pretty sloppy a lot of the times. You could definitely tell he was running on all emotions when he came back in that Luis Ortiz fight. He'd been floored. He came back, and it was like he just had this look like it's straight savage. It's street fighting time. He went out there, swung for the fences, and got it done. It'll be interesting to see if he can do that against Tyson Fury. TRT Vitor equals Super Saiyan. Yeah, that was a scary dude. Some guys like Hendo have power where they don't have to land right to hurt you. Absolutely. Congo. Yeah, Congo did well tonight. Well, did you see the JRE with Teddy Atlas? Yes, I did. And actually, when I get the Fight with Friends stream back, I wanted to do this for the last HBO show, but it might be better to do on an ESPN card. I've been looking for a good non-profit donation to do a fundraiser, and I'd like to do a really long one, like one of these 24-hour things, and Young David's volunteered to help. We'd have Dutch Guy. I got some volunteers to help me, so I don't have to get through the whole thing, but I would like to raise money for the Teddy Atlas Foundation. I think it's a very good cause. I really did enjoy that podcast. Anybody who hasn't listened to that podcast, the JRE MMA with Teddy Atlas, go back and listen to it. You're not going to find a more genuine person than Teddy Atlas. And his nonprofit foundation, there's a lot of foundations that the money goes to research, the money goes to whatever, and a lot goes to overhead, but there's a lot of them that it doesn't. He made the point that, you know what, research doesn't help these guys buy the defibrillator right now. Research doesn't help these guys not get kicked out of their house when they can't make their mortgage payment. He's more interested in, their foundation is immediate help, doing a very good job of vetting people to make sure, they're not being taken advantage of and that people are legit. And then having a team of people, only one person on their entire team takes a small salary. Everything else goes towards, I think he said over 95%, to the people, and they give it straight to the people that need it. If there's somebody who has, a bad asthma problem and they need one of those nebulizers, like the asthma nebulizer, they're just going to buy it for them instead of going through a bunch of channels. Too many people didn't pick Congo tonight. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't understand why he was an underdog. I mean, I guess I kind of do. He's getting older, but that's kind of what I expected. Teddy Atlas said Customato had told him the most powerful punchers are taller, skinny guys, and that Cuss was one of the few who knew that some skinny fighters can have heavy hands. Him speaking about his father was cool. Yeah, it was. His father, Teddy Atlas, you can tell where he gets his work ethic from by listening to that. You want to know why he's such a legit and serious guy and has absolutely no patience for bullshit. That it goes back to his father. His father was, you listen to him talk to him, one of the most selfless guys that probably ever lived. He spent most of his time as a doctor helping people that couldn't afford the medical care. And he just wouldn't charge them. A lot of people. So yeah, Congo is pretty old. Congo versus Rampage could be cool. I like that fight. That was one of the first fights I seen when they both ended up in Bellator. That's one of the first fights I thought. Congo was on a 7-win streak, and his last win was a KO. And he can grind 3 to 5 rounds, no problem. Yeah, I think he would have been a real threat in the heavyweight tournament. So I'm guessing there must have been some kind of schedule conflict that he wasn't able to make the heavyweight tournament. I don't see them purposely not involving him because that's a detriment to Bellator. Not just for him not having the shot at the $1 million. So, great night of fights, guys. I've been up since 3 in the morning, so I think I'm going to call it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Just about a month away from getting my Fights with Friends back, and supposedly this channel is supposed to be monetized at any time. They said they could take up to a month to make the decision. But thank you, everybody, for helping me get another channel up to 1,000 subscriptions. I didn't dream that would happen when my channel got banned, that I would get up to 1,000 subscribers so quickly. I had no idea that would happen. So that was a great surprise. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses later.